Okay, so we're looking at the results of lesson 3. This is our if-else inside of a while loop, and the if-else is measuring whether or not the robot is completely on a white surface. If it's not, then there's a backup and turn command to find some open area to move towards. If it is, it just keeps moving forward. So essentially it's going to keep moving forward until it finds the edge of the surface, the white surface, and in that situation it will back up. We're going to add an additional if-else inside of our first if statement that will shove any object that is in its way off the white surface. So the robot will be not only detecting the edges, but also detecting any objects in its path. So to do that, we're going to just right-click here and remove this first DC block. So this is empty, the if statement. And we're going to put a new if statement inside our first if statement, and also an else inside of our if statement. So this is a nested if statement, an if-else inside of an if. Okay, and this if statement is going to be corresponding to a front sensor. So if we look at the tabs here, we're doing the bottom sensors for the first if statement in lesson 3. Now we're going to click on the front sensor tab and select front sensor number 1. Okay, 0 is the left corner sensor on your board, 1 is the middle sensor, 2 is the right corner sensor. We just want to work with the front middle sensor, so that's number 1. And we are going to change this equal sign into a less than sign. So essentially what we're looking for is any object within a certain range triggering this sensor. Okay, 750 is the value we use. You can play around with that number, but 750 works pretty well. So this is saying the sensor, if we read a value of less than 750, then something inside of this if statement will happen. And that something is that we're going to shove that object off the tabletop or the white surface that you're using. So our first DC motor is going to be a short back up, kind of raring back. And I'm using speed 3, otherwise the robot can kind of pop backwards a little bit. So we're going to do a speed 3 backwards motion, backwards, backwards for both motor 1 and motor 2, speed 3, the setting for both motor 1 and motor 2, and a very, very short delay. I'm going to put 0.1 second, so that's 100 milliseconds. So it's going to be a short backup, and then we're going to go full speed ahead to shove that object out of the way. So actually here we're going to use speed 9, full speed, forward for both motor 1 and motor 2. So full speed shoving motion, but not for very long. So the delay after this will be, again, quite short. Let's just put 0.2 seconds. It's 200 milliseconds. So it's going to shove that object and then back up and repeat over and over again as long as this sensor is detecting something in front of it. Now, when the robot has gotten to the edge of the white surface, then it will stop doing this motion because that'll take it to the else section here. As long as the robot is detecting with all of the bottom sensors that there is a white surface below it, it will either do what's in this if statement, shoving, or if there's nothing in front of it, it's just going to do what it had always done, which was go forward. So we'll put a DC block, same as before, inside of this else statement now. That is speed 5 for both motor 1 and motor 2, and forward for both. So now, with this program, looping with the while loop, first, the robot is looking to see if there is all white underneath it, and if so, it's looking to see if there's something in front of it, and if so, then the shoving motion will happen. Else, when nothing is in front of it, it'll just keep going forward at a normal speed until there is something underneath it that's not a white surface, so it's hanging off the edge in some way, and that'll trigger this else statement, the else section where we do the backup and the spin. Okay, so now you can put something in front of your robot while it's on the white surface, and you should see it do a back and forth shoving motion to push that object off.